This tank is the AMX 13105. This is a French Tier 10 light tank. The map is Malinovka in encounter mode. I am working on a mission, which is LT-15, the Aggressive Recon Specialist, and I'm going to complete this mission in this game. I'm going to get 6,300 spotting damage plus additional damage. So the first thing that I did was I tried to spot some enemy tanks, which I obviously did. Unfortunately, I got spotted, so I have to retreat, and I'm trying to weave in between the buildings on my way back, trying to keep buildings behind me as much as possible. I did take a hit for 764 damage, but that's okay because I'm going to do very well in this game. And I've already gotten 1,600 damage on my first pass. So there's many different ways, you know, there's many different ways to approach this. I knew that ROM Panzerwagon was spotting me, so I knew that I was going to have a little bit of trouble doing a spotting run. So that's why I decided to sit in this position. And I also came out to this side to stay far away from him. So now that I think it's safe, I'm probably going to advance soon, unless I could do some damage to this guy. I'm up to 2,600 spotting damage. I had a hit on an Object 277 for 1,058 damage, which was a huge asset in this game. So obviously you can see I'm advancing in the lower area. And I'm notifying my allies the target that I'm planning to light up, which is the E0 area. Now, one thing you're going to notice, there's different ways to get out of, to return and retreat from spotting. And one way is to head in the direction that I'm heading. And the reason why it's good is because of the slope of the land, it's very difficult for the enemy team to hit you. If you go more on this side, on the other side of the houses, it's easier for enemy tanks to hit you. So it can be very safe to go this way, just stay low. And always stay surrounded by solid objects as much as possible. Score's 2-1. I'm up to 3,100 spotting damage, including some on that Rheinmetall Panzerwagon. I have the feeling he's going to be out of the game soon. Oh, he's lucky. Excuse me. It's too bad that this tank only has 3 rounds in it. I believe it used to have 4 rounds, but they nerfed it because they didn't want light tank players to be able to snipe. So they took away some of its firing capabilities. And they probably reduced its penetration as well. I'm really against making those types of changes to the game. People should be allowed to play tanks whatever the way they want to. Okay, so I'm up to 3,200 spotting damage. I'd love to shoot at those tanks. A lot of enemy tanks here. I once had a game where I spotted everybody on the enemy team. I think it was 14 tanks. And I was so close to them that the enemy team was spotted the whole game, and they were pinned down and they couldn't move, and we won like 15-0. And it was on Sand River. The video is on my my website. It was a great game. Spotting can give you a huge advantage in the game. So now one of the things that I'm noticing is that those tanks are being hit and I'm not getting spotting damage for them. Obviously it's because I'm not spotting them, but it defeats the purpose of me trying to complete this mission. I only need one more mission to win an Object 260. I have to complete MT-15, and then I'm done. So one of the concerns that I had was that Object 268 was right in front of me, but I wasn't spotting him. Now I am. Luckily, everything worked out, but there was a little gap of time I was concerned. He just took a hit, and I did not get any spotting damage from it. He just took another hit, and I did not get spotting damage from it. I could hit him right in the rear. Okay, so now I'm getting the spotting damage on that tank. Now remember, there's an enemy tank right in front of me, which is a T-110E3. He disappeared for a moment, but now he's back. I could easily take him out of the game. And you notice he disappeared again. I'm up to 4,100 spotting damage. Now would be a great time to fire. And he's out of the game. Up to 4,400 spotting damage, 4,700 combined. So now we only got 5 tanks left in the game. And I was concerned here. I thought that maybe I wasn't going to make it, so I had to rush to get as much damage as I could. I'm up to 5,100 combined. I need 8,000. Too slow to turn around. Should have turned around a lot faster. I might have been able... Oh, I wasn't reloaded. Up to 5,500. I'm up to 5,900. Score is 12-9. I got 4,400 spotting damage. I'm going to get 6,300 total, so there's a bit more yet to come. And you'll notice I'm repositioning so I can hit that Type 5 heavy. And surely we're going to win this game. That was an amazing camera angle right there. Ouch. Okay, so that's the end of the game for me. The score is 13-10. The in-game stats currently show 2,100 damage, 5,200 spotting damage, 7,400 combined, but I did pull in an extra 1,100 spotting damage, so I actually got up to 8,500 combined, which allowed me to complete the mission, LT-15, the Aggressive Recon Specialist. So it is possible to do it in encounter mode. You might think you have to be able to passively scout on this map, but it's not true. I was able to do it by actively scouting. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. This tank is the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen. This is a German Tier 10 light tank. The map is Malinovka. I am going to get 5,100 spotting damage in this game. As you can see, I'm already spotting tanks. That's looks like 8 tanks spotted. One of the issues, the game designers want corridor maps. They're against spotting. So they made it so that it's more difficult for your allies to hit enemy tanks at the start of this map. They moved the tanks further apart. So even if you go and spot them, your allies won't be able to shoot at them. And they're really ruining the game because if you think about it, you have your penetration of your gun, the amount of damage you do, your spotting, your armor, all those different things. The armor ends up being the most important. That's the one thing that keeps you in the game. And I will explain. Having a high penetration allows you to kill enemy tanks and win games. However, your allies, having the highest penetration does not make it so that you kill every enemy tank, because your allies are also going to be killing enemy tanks. So having high penetration gives you an advantage, but only so far. But having the strongest armor can make you impenetrable in a game. I need to pause for a second. Okay, I'm back. So the point that I'm making is I sat and I reviewed all of the characteristics that a tank could have, and I determined that having strong armor is the most important in a game because it keeps you alive and it does the most to help you win the game. Okay, so now after I did my initial spotting run, I knew that I might not get a lot of spotting damage at that position. So what I decided to do was a follow-up spotting run. On the follow-up spotting run, at the point that I'm at right now, I got 2,000 spotting damage. Most of the damage was on a Centurion Action X. So I'm going in for another spotting run. You don't want to go through the buildings on your way in as much as possible. You want to stay exposed, and then you want to ride through the buildings on your way back when you're retreating. And you want to use the buildings for cover. You'll notice that I'm going up a little bit higher because I wanted to be able to spot some tanks that I couldn't normally see. And I decided to make my way towards the lower level over here instead of driving through the buildings. And part of it is, if you look at the mini-map, it's better for me to drive near the cliff based on the positioning of the enemy tanks as opposed to driving through the buildings. So you do want to take that into account when you do spotting runs. So one of the issues we have is that a lot of the tanks are actually spotted. There's not a lot of tanks that need to be spotted. So now I have to come up with a new tactic. The score is 2-0. I'm already up to 4,000 spotting damage. I took a lot of damage on the Grill 15. Oh, they spotted me. So the Grill 15 was around 1,500 spotting damage, and the Centurion Action X was apparently taken out of the game. So I made a mistake where it looks like I went into a spotting bush while I was still spotted, and you don't want to do that. What you want to do is go into a safe position like where I was, count to 10 seconds, and then go up into the spotting bush. I am going to get more spotting damage in this game. So now we have a situation where there's a tank there that's got a lot of hit points, but do we have the snipers in positions to hit him, and do they have guns that can damage him? You can see that there's some incoming fire. There's an E100 who can definitely do it, and there's a Leopard 1 who might not have the ability to do a lot of damage to that tank. At the base, there's an STRV who could hit him, and a T110E4, but because he's hiding behind that rock, they're not going to be able to hit him. The tanks that are up on the hill, I can't really get a lot of benefit from spotting them. Maybe that E100 I can spot, but most of the tanks up on the hill, there's little that I can do unless I get behind them and shoot them on the rear flank. So I am concerned about that AMX 13105. I don't know where he is right now. There's a chance he's still in the... Oh, okay, I remember this game. I'm working on a mission to get 8,000 spotting damage, and I was... here. Okay, so here's what you should do, and here's what I did do. You look in front of me, there's 3,000 hit points of damage. I've already got 4,700. If I get that remaining 3,000 hit points of damage, I'll get my 8,000, and I'll probably complete the mission. I'm not going to complete the mission in this game. I did complete the mission already in another replay, which you may have already seen. So I know that if you look at the minimap, these two tanks in front of me are at the edge of my spotting range. And they're in a well-defended position. So I knew that there were a few problems here. The problems are that my allies can't really hit them easily because of the rock that they're hiding behind. Number two, they could easily become unspotted, and we don't want that to happen. I want my allies to chase after those targets. If they become unspotted, my allies might give up and focus their attention somewhere else. So I thought I got to get a little bit closer. And I don't know, let's see when, I'm definitely going to move to a new position. Let's see when I do it. And we'll find out what I did wrong. I'm up to 4,700 spotting damage. You'll see that the Badger disappeared, and I don't want tanks to disappear. I want them to stay spotted. Oh, there's another tank. Okay, so those 3 tanks, that's 5,000 spotting damage combined. And they're moving. So I felt the need to move to a closer position. But I got spotted, and that's where the problem comes in. And we lost one of our snipers. So the AMX, he was on the lower level. It looks like he never left that position. It was not wise for him to stay there. It was kind of dumb for him to stay there. He's not very useful in the game by staying in that position because, well, he doesn't know that. That's why you need to count your tanks. So I decided to make another effort. All these tanks, again, are at the edge of my spotting range. There's about 5,000 hit points of damage out there. I'm up to 5,100. I got spotted, and I was taken out of the game. And what I did not understand is how the hell did I get spotted in that bush? It looks like maybe I had gone a little bit too far forward. One of the problems that I have when I play is that you can stay behind the bush and still spot through the bush, and I never do it. I always go a little bit too far, so it was a mistake for me. I believe that the AMX 13105 is moved to a new position where he was able to find me, and that's why I screwed up. Okay, so let's move on to the next video. The score is 9-5. I got 5,100 spotting damage. This tank is the AMX 13105. This is a French Tier 10 light tank. The map is Malinovka. I am going to get 4,000 spotting damage in this game. There are people who think that Prokhorovka does more spotting damage, but for me, that's not the case. For me, I get more spotting damage on Malinovka. I use the World of Tanks replay analyzer, and I get more spotting damage on this map. Now you'll notice I came to this position, this row of bushes over here. It's going to prevent the team from advancing in the south. We're going to completely control the south. They're never going to be able to advance as long as I'm here. Any enemy tanks that remain at the base area are going to get spotted. They're going to get taken out of the game. And any enemy light tanks that try to remain near the base are going to get spotted. Plus, there is a sniping ridge, which is in the F7 area. That ridge right there, we're going to be able to spot tanks that show up on that ridge also. So we control a large portion of enemy territory, with the exception of the northeast where everyone goes to brawl. We've already got 682 spotting damage in this game. There's another 173. So he's going to figure out at some point that he can't do anything. He can't advance. And really, if you're in that situation, I mean, the IS-7's choice is either to defend the position or to retreat. And if he defends the position, it's not going to do him any good because he's not going to spot any enemy tanks. So really, his best option is to retreat and go fight somewhere else. Now the question is, are there other tanks on the enemy team that are at the base area? Usually there is. And if you watch these videos, I had a game recently where there was an E100 that was literally right behind that building, that bush right there, who was there for a large portion of the game and wasn't spotted until many minutes had gone by. So some tanks are going to be able to hide well. You can see that the Object 140 is trying to advance. Looks like he was able to make it, but he's probably going to get spotted as he moves up into the next position. And from this position where I am, I can shoot at him if I want to, but I run the risk of being spotted, so I'm going to have to hold my fire. Now, when you play in this position, one of the things you have to be aware of is you have to know when to leave this position. You have to keep, okay, so there's an example. The Object 268 was spotted at the enemy base more than 3 minutes into the game. So you have to keep an eye on where the heavy tanks are in the northeast and you have to know when that flank falls, because when that flank falls, you got to leave this position. And the way you leave this position is very simple. You just head in that direction towards your base. And if you get spotted, stay in the low area, or you could head that way. You could dive into the water if you get spotted, but I never get spotted, so not something that I need to worry about. But keep your eye on, it looks like we're winning in the northeast. Score's 4-0. I'm up to 2,000 spotting damage. So if you look on the mini-map and you see how we're winning and we're advancing, that tells me that what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to stay here and I'm going to go back behind the enemy base at some point. I'm sure I could easily snipe at those tanks. But I am getting what appears to be the full spotting damage on those tanks. I got 675 spot damage on that Object 430U. You'll notice that I'm moving forward a little bit in order to extend my range. Score 7-1. So I made the decision to start advancing onto the enemy base. Maybe snipe at those tanks. Once they get outside of spotting range, I'll start sniping at them. Let's see if the IS-7 takes heavy fire. It looks like he did. Well, it looks like he did. So the IS-7 got hit for around 600 damage, and I got half of that as spotting damage. Ah, that sucks. Okay, so I didn't get any kills. The after-game results said that I did 4,000 spotting damage, and I did 372 damage on my own. The score is 12-3. We're surely going to win this game. Let's move on to the next video. This tank is a T-54 lightweight. This is a Russian Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Malinovka. I am going to get 4,400 spotting damage in this game, and I'm going to get 4 kills. Now, as you can see, I'm going to a certain position here where I like to spot from. And normally, you do want to move as close to that, close to the left as possible, which is actually eastward, because the tanks that go up into that sniping ridge, you want to be able to spot them. So at some point, you're going to have to move. And the reason why I don't do it right at the beginning is because I don't want to get spotted. I want to make sure I get a lot of spotting damage in before I make that final move. But at some point, I'll probably move my tank forward. I don't know why I just moved it backwards. Maybe I was worried I might get spotted by the Foch. I didn't count how many tanks I spotted, but as you can see, I've gotten spotting damage on 2 different tanks so far. And it's 609 spotting damage. I've played this position quite a bit. There's good things about this position. First of all, you're going to prevent the enemy team from advancing along the south. If they try to advance, they're going to fail. And second of all, you can do a lot of spotting from here, but you're not going to get quite everything. You're going to be able to get a couple thousand, that's for sure. And you have to know when are you going to advance. At some point, you're going to want to advance to the enemy base. When you advance to the enemy base, you might have to fight. The other good thing about this position is you do prevent tanks like that Foch B from taking up a sniping position up on that ridge. And not only do you prevent them from taking a sniping position, but you prevent them from spotting from that ridge. And as you can see from the beginning of the game, there was a tank that tried, it was an ELC even 90 who tried to take up a spotting position, but I got here first. So he was unable to take up that spotting position in that bush, which helps me out a lot and helps my team out a lot. One thing that's going to happen is tanks like that T-32, they're just going to stay there and hide the whole game. They're pinned down, and they're not going to come out. They know that if they move, they're going to get spotted, and they've got no targets to shoot at. So they're going to sit there. We're going to have to force them out later in the game. You can see he's already spotted. He tried to move and he already got spotted. He's never going to be able to get out of that position. What he doesn't understand is that he could sneak away if he really wanted to. So now you can see I repositioned so I could get closer to where the Foch is. And the reason why was because I wasn't spotting the Foch. I wanted to put him within my range so I could respot him. It's possible that I spotted him when the binocs turned on. I'm not sure. If you want to confirm that, you can rewind the video and check to see when the binocs came on to verify if that's when the Foch was spotted. And he's out of the game. So we've got at least 3 tanks at the enemy base, the M4A1 Revalorise, the J Panther II, and the T-32. Obviously, the M4A1 is retreating. He's not doing it the safest way. He should have done it more along the water. Oh, there's an E100. That's interesting. I guess the T-62 must have spotted him. Score is 3-2. I got 2,500 spot damage. I'm going to speed up the game a little bit. Got another hit on that T-32. So the E100 was hit by artillery. Score is 6-4. I got 2,900 spotting damage. Very boring, as you can see. Let's speed it up a little more. Score 7-6. What's painful about this type of thing is I want to help out my team in the north, but I really can't. I actually could leave this position. If I wanted to, I would just turn around, head back to my base, and I'd probably make it without being spotted. If I set up my tank in the right position, I'd probably be able to snipe against that tank also. It looks like that's what I'm trying to do. Set up a sniping position. Yeah, he's out of the game. Score is 9-7. T-32 is still in the same position. So I finally decided to advance. The reason why is because I have support from the STRV and the enemy does not have a tank there. You'll notice that if you're going to run through the enemy base, you want to keep on heading all the way to the back as much as you can. Killed the T-32. Don't stick around. Don't cross over and then stick around. Cross over and get as far behind the enemy as possible. So if they turn their guns around, they can't point their guns at 2 different tanks. So he's going to have to point his gun either towards my allies or towards me. He can't choose both. You can see that he did not point his tank in my direction. He chose to ignore me. There's still a bit more spotting to do. Okay, so I got 3 kills. I'm up to 1,000 damage, and I still have 2,900 spotting damage. That's 4 kills. And the score is 14-7. We got one final tank that's all the way up at the top there. So the in-game is reporting 2,900 spotting damage, but in the after game it said 4,400 spotting damage. And obviously I got 4 kills. Let's see what happens with this last tank. I'm going to speed up. That would be amazing if I actually was able to spot him at the end here. Okay. So that's going to be the game. And that's it. This tank is the E-25. This is a German Tier 7 tank destroyer, and the map is Malinovka. I'm going to get 4,100 spotting damage in this game. Now, one of the things you're going to notice, if you look at the mini-map, I don't have the full spotting range on this tank, and I'm doing my standard maneuver, which is to head out to this little area over here, spot as much as I can, then go down into the dip. I wasn't spotted, so this way, if I get spotted, I have an escape route. So I decided to start out in this little bush over here. It's possible that I might be able to sit here for some time, but I really want a closer position. I want to be able to spot everybody on the enemy team as well as possible. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to be watching that Hellcat and any other tanks that go up into that ridge over there to make sure that there's no one there. We want to make sure that they don't have spotting ability. If they don't have spotting ability, then it's safer for me to move around the map. So you can see that IKV is almost taken out of the game. And yeah, that took him out of the game. Okay, so I already got 1,368 spotting damage. And there's no way to know for sure if there's someone there. You have to take a guess at it. We got this T-50-2 heading over there, and he's going to pretty much verify whether or not there's somebody hiding there. So it looks like there's no enemy tanks there spotting, so I can move closer. And that T-50-2 was killed by the enemy SPG. You can see that a tree fell down in the middle of the screen, so there is another tank out there. I got 2,100 spotting damage so far. There goes another tank. 2,600 spotting damage. So that was a couple of tanks that died because of my spotting. We do have enemy tanks that are nearby, so I do have to be careful. I know I could easily get spotted. And he's out of the game. So I was able to cause another tank to die. I'm up to 3,197 spotting damage. And one of the things that you can see is that the E-25 is a good tank for spotting with. It has a low profile. It has pretty good camo. It's definitely got good speed. And the gun's pretty good. The gun is good against many tanks, especially if you hit them on the side or the rear. Score 6-1. A lot of those kills were because of me. So right now I can't really move. I have to wait for my allies. Well, obviously I could move, but the smart thing is for me to stay where I am and let my allies do as much damage and killing as they can. The score is 8-3. I want to continue to spot for my team. It looked like the E-25 had moved enough far away that I could advance a little bit more, and now he's out of the game. Very easy to snipe on that tank. And I wasn't spotted. Score is 10-5. Obviously, there's some tanks here I could snipe at. I'm up to 3,476 spotting damage and 324 damage. When people ping the mini-map to signify where an enemy tank might be, they're not always correct. You know, sometimes people ping the mini-map because they want a tank to be there, but not because they know that a tank is there. I got 462 damage, 3698 spotting damage, and there's only one tank left in the game. Okay, that's the game. So again, I got 4,100 spotting damage. I got around 500 damage and 1 kill. This tank is a T-54 lightweight. This is a Russian Tier 9 light tank, and the map is Malinovka in the encounter mode. I'm going to show you how to spot in the beginning of this game. I'm going to count how many tanks we spot, and hopefully we'll get some spotting damage. Now, you have the choice. I'll talk about this real quick. When you spot, you can either run through the buildings, run through the field, or run through this low area. My technique is to run through the open area on the way towards the enemy. And the reason why is because right now I am not spotted. And this is the most dangerous position to be in. So when I become spotted and I turn around, I'm going to be more vulnerable because I'll be spotted, and I'm going to be showing the rear of my tank. I'm either going to duck into the left in the lower area, or I'm going to go through the buildings and use the buildings to block my exit. Okay, so that's one tank spotted. 495 spotting damage. That's a second tank spotted. You notice I'm driving close to buildings. A third tank spotted. So I only spotted 3 tanks. I don't remember if it said I was spotted. I'm sure I was. Okay, so that was spotting damage on a T-49. I'm doing the same maneuver, taking the same path. Spotted a tank. Now I'm taking the lower area on my way out. I got more spotting damage on the enemy T-49, so I'm up to 792 spotting damage. Again, I'm following the same path. I'm going on the more dangerous route on my way towards the enemy, and I'll take a safer route on the way out. You really want to avoid knocking down solid objects that can be used to block incoming fire. It's a very aggressive spotting position right here. And you can just duck around over here until you become unspotted if you want. You can just sit there and hide at that position. So I got 243 damage, 914 spotting damage. Now they're aware, they become aware of what your technique is, so you don't want to use the same technique over and over again. You want to vary it somewhat. And it looks like their T-49 was taken out of the game, which is a big help for me because it's going to make it far more difficult for the enemy to spot me. Unfortunately, I was spotted while trying to take up a passive spotting position. And because I was already spotted, I decided to fire my gun. And this is obviously active spotting. I decided to head south for various reasons. You know, you've got lower land and fewer enemy targets. I've got allies here in the south. So that Rheinmetall that hit me for 886 damage, he's out of the game now. He was killed. You really got to zigzag when you're out in the open. And now that FCM-50T is out of the game. He was killed by one of the snipers on the other side of the lake up on the hill. Now you notice that I'm driving perpendicular to the Jagdpanzer, not that he was aiming at me, but you want to drive perpendicular so that if he does aim at you, it's more difficult for him to hit you. If you go away from him or towards him, it's easier for him to hit you. Okay, so let's move on to the next video. This tank is the AMX 1357 GF. It's a French Tier 7 light tank. It's also a premium tank, and the map is Malinovka. I'm going to get 4,500 spotting damage. Now, the technique I use on this map is to rush across the field, spot as many tanks as I can, and hide in a bush somewhere. You can see that I was spotted. You just return back, get over that hill. They won't be able to hit you in this position. However, the problem is it might be a little bit difficult to retake an advanced position, especially because there's an enemy AMX 1357 in front of me. Unfortunately, the web developers have changed this map to make it harder to spot. So there's fewer spotting options. You used to be able to make it midfield. There were good spotting positions. You could spot, do a lot of damage early in the game, but they moved some of the bushes back or made some of the bushes smaller so that it was more difficult to accomplish that. This is one of my favorite tanks to play. I've already gotten 1,000 spotting damage. I like the fact that it has a rapid fire gun. It's very maneuverable, somewhat small. I just wish it were tier 10. It has a good velocity for the ammunition, which means that when you fire the gun, the ammunition is going to get there a lot faster. Now, if you look at the minimap, there's only one tank within my spotting range, which is a Scorpion G, which means that it's pretty safe for me to advance to a bush that's closer to those tanks. So as you can see, I've noticed that there's a few tanks in my spotting range, so I'm advancing. I'm going to turn on those binocs, see what it finds. Every time that tank shows up over there, he's going to get nailed by my allies. So you can see I'm going to another bush, and then I'm going to turn the binocs on. You don't want to move too much. You want to try and get into position as quickly as possible so that your binocs turn on as quickly as possible. I'm going to become deadlier and deadlier for that Scorpion G. I could probably take up a closer position because the Scorpion G is probably on the other side of the hill, or possibly he left. If he's probably not in those bushes, I probably would have spotted him. If you want to know when to fire your gun, the bullet is going to land, the ammunition is going to land within that circle. So as the circle grows smaller, once the circle encompasses the tank, that's when you fire your gun. That's assuming that you don't care which part of the tank it hits. You don't have to wait for the circle to become as small as possible. I'm still going to wait for my binocs to turn on. Got more bushes I can advance into. I got good support, got a lot of tanks behind me. You can see that MT-25 never spotted me, although I more than likely spotted him. When you play, you want to learn how to spot first and add sniping later on once you've mastered spotting. And with the sniping, you have to have an exit plan. You have to know where you're going to go if you get spotted while you're sniping. I was a little slow to find a place to hide. Up to 1,500 spotting damage and 500 damage. The score is 5-2. You can see that we're going to win this game. We've got the enemy pretty much cornered. We've got them where we want them. We've got them surrounded fairly well. The enemy has few options. The only thing they can do is wait for us to approach them.
Penetration. Enemy armor is damaged. Enemy vehicle destroyed.
Now, one thing I can do, you see there's a lot of water in front of me. Being in the water is a safe place to be because it's the lowest part of the map. So I could easily advance through the water, go all the way to the edge of the water, and then hide on the slope.
Penetration. Enemy armor is damaged.
I got 2,200 up to 2,259 spotting damage now. You want to stay as low as possible in the water. And then find a bush. For example, there's one on the left. Find a bush to roll into. You can see I got a good patch of bushes over here. All those tanks are probably against the red line. I've only got 2 shots loaded. I don't like to use the APCR, which is why I don't have them loaded. I should have reloaded with the APCR. I didn't realize, wasn't properly anticipating all the tanks I would have been able to shoot. Got 3,300 spotting damage. Obviously, I want to spot that tank as quickly as possible. Move perpendicularly to him to make it harder for him to shoot at me. And that's the game. I got 1,000 damage, 4,556 spotting damage, and 1 kill. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank. The map is Malinovka. I am going to get 2,600 spotting damage, but what's important is the technique that I'm going to use. This is going to be the first time that I'm trying this, but I'm going to show you a technique that you can use to get into the rear flank, to spot the enemy SPGs, to snipe at the enemy from behind. This is only testing, so I'm not going to do it properly, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it properly the next time. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm just doing a spotting run. I'm coming over here, look at all those tanks that I spotted. There was no threat to me. They didn't expect me to do it. They didn't shoot at me. They didn't fire me. They didn't see me coming. I was able to spot all those enemy tanks. The mistake that I made was that this is an encounter game, and I was kind of confusing it. I was confusing the spawn positions with a regular battle. I didn't realize how close they were to the A7 and A8 area. I thought I was going to be spotting them in a different sector. So then I used the low ground to go back to safety, and I'm coming in for a second spotting run. But watch the way I do it, and we're going to talk about what I did right and what I did wrong. Now, obviously, they spotted me. Was a pure stroke of luck that their light tank was going off in that direction. I did get 1,500 spotting damage. It was 1,100 on that first spotting run, and I got 400 on that light tank. This T-34, he's going to be out of the game. What he tried to do is complete failure. Now, because I'm spotted, I'm heading back toward safety, which is Allied territory, and I'm going to turn around doing a handbrake turn. I'm going to go back to enemy territory. Now, we know where most of the enemy tanks are, and there's only a few out in the field, and there's going to be one SPG back there. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to rush behind enemy lines. What I should have done is, because this Progetto 46 was spotted, is wait for him to die, but I got a little bit cocky. And I was spotted. So now you see I'm rushing behind enemy lines. And what I'm doing is I'm going for the lowlands, but it's the wrong way to do it. And I'm going to explain to you the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to use this building to block these tanks from shooting at you. And the way you do it is when you come up over on this hill, you hang a sharp left to get behind this building. And then you start driving down the field. What's happening right here is I'm going in the wrong direction, which is going to allow those tanks behind me to take shots at me. Right now I'm looking for the lowland, but what I could have done was use that building. If you look on the mini-map, I have the pointer pointed to the building. You can use the mini-map to use the building to block those shots. So I took one shot from the SPG. I'm staying in the lowland. You'll see that the people up on the hill haven't hit me even once. There's a T-32 that hit me. I was able to make it all the way to the back. Took him out of the game. You can see that the enemy is chasing after me. And I was able to get 2,600 spotting damage. Now, the point of this game is that I am testing the tactic and the technique to use to get to this position. I'm going to show you, this is the first time I did it. I'm going to try it again in the future. I'm going to tell you right now that if you wait a little bit longer into the game, like more time elapsed, you're going to have higher chance of success. And if there's more SPGs, you're going to have a higher chance of success because more SPGs means less enemy tanks. Okay, let's move on to the next video.